Oh, that's right. Kevin is in Phoenix.
Yeah, Kevin's in Phoenix with the basketball team, so he's calling in.
Okay.
Where's Kevin? That's right. The basketball team. They play USC tonight.
9 p.m. Kevin said.
Love it.
Ready, Kyle? Just really appreciate everybody being here. I'd be remiss if I didn't start by just saying something about Coach Leach. Mike Leach is a really great friend of mine and our staff, and really spent a lot of time with us over the years. And obviously Matt and his family were very close with the Leaches. Matt's actually down there at his service that was yesterday, and I couldn't go because of signing date. But just want to say this, there's an old saying that one man with courage is a majority. And I learned so much about football from Coach Leach of having courage, of doing things the way you want it to be done, call games the way you want it to be called. And I just think he just left an amazing example for so many of us in this profession. And just, thoughts and prayers go out to his family and the whole Mississippi State program. To our fan base, we had a team meeting the Monday after our New Mexico game. And, we talked about as a team that we just finished a season that's not our standards. It wasn't up to our standards. And there's a lot of things that we need to do to get better and improve. We played the bulk of the conference schedule with 59 scholarship players, very short-handed, wasn't able to practice the way we wanted to, really didn't have the competition at positions that we needed to be really competitive in our league. And so, I vowed to them and our staff and our coaches that we were never going to be in that situation again. And we are going to get our full complement of scholarship players. We're going to play with 85. And so we went into this recruiting season really with a very big job ahead of us. From 59 to 85 scholarships is a big bite to chew. But I really think we had some great examples. Going into this class, we were looking to sign about 40 guys to get us up to 85. And we had some great examples over the course of the year. We played the University of Michigan, and I just thought that was one of the most talented rosters that I've competed against in many, many years. Just from top to bottom, every position, they were long, they were big up front, they were very athletic at every position, very versatile at every position, played great on special teams. I just thought they were an amazing example of what a football team should look like. And, we played the University of Boise. A year ago, I was at Nevada. We beat Boise up there. I just think they've changed as a team in the last year. We're very impressive physically across the board. And I just think we had some really blueprints for what we need to aspire to as a program. For our evaluation process, we really grade our players on three categories. Number one is an athletic grade. Number two is a character grade. And number three is an academic grade. And with that, we get a total grade. And we're really looking to sign players that can be all conference players at every position. And I just really want to give a big thanks, number one, to our recruiting staff. Lucas Gauthier's done an amazing job. He's been with me for many years and really did a great job of just keeping the focus on the qualities that we're looking for in players. I think the biggest mistake that staffs make is that they reach for players outside of the core of qualities that they're looking for, whether that's offensive linemen, defensive linemen, skill players, and all of a sudden at the end of recruiting, you're picking players that really don't fit your profile. I think Lucas and his staff did an amazing job of keeping us in our lanes as a staff and making sure that we picked the right players. his assistant, Nashel Fallon, Bria Griffin, our on-campus recruiting coordinator, all the student workers, amazing job. Our staff, our coaches that have went all over the country to get these players, our families that help recruiting, all our CSU staff from Joe Parker, Becky Orr, our academics lady, all of our staff members all pitched in to put this current class together. It's getting tougher to find diamonds in the rough anymore. We've kind of made our whole career on that. But I think our staff did an amazing job. We signed 34 players today in this class. And just a couple quick breakdowns. I'm not going to mention every player that we signed, but we signed players from 17 states. And I think for my tenure as a head coach, that is the broadest spectrum that we've been able to touch in recruiting. We touched every corner of this country, from Florida to California to Washington State to New York State. We've been everywhere to find this class. We had 3 great players from the state of Colorado, and they're very high quality players. 7 from California, 3 from Illinois, and 7 from the state of Texas. The position breakdown, we had 16 players on our defense, 5 D linemen, 3 linebackers, 4 corners, and 4 safeties. Really quality players that we brought in defensively. One of our biggest areas of that we needed to fill was our offensive line. We signed 7 offensive linemen. The average weight for our height and weight for these offensive linemen that we brought in were 6'5", 300. And so we really increased the size and length of our linemen. Arm length and height and range are so important to us, and pass protection, and we certainly got to improve in that. We signed a quarterback who we think is an amazing leader, 2-time state champion in the state of Utah, 5 wide receivers, 3 tight ends. The tight ends that we brought in is the best crop of tight ends I've ever had in my career. I mean, they're all tall. One of the things when I was on the road, when I went to the door and I knocked on the door and they opened up, I'm 6'2.5", and I'm looking up at the kids. That's always a good sign. And these tight ends are all tall, they're long, they're athletic, they're threats as receivers. When I coached for the Raiders and Al Davis, he asked me when I was his tight ends coach, he said, Jay, can the tight end run a 7 route? And if he couldn't run the 7 route, Al didn't want him. And so, in the 7 route's a corner route. And so if you got somebody in the middle of the field that can stretch the field, that can run vertical routes, that can run deep, you just give your quarterback one more weapon. And all 3 of these guys can do that. Really excited. We got 2 transfer tight ends and a high school kid. And then 2 really dynamic running backs. So overall with this class, our average height was 6'2", our average weight was 219. We got 8 kids from the portal. We got 12 mid-year players that'll be here in a couple of weeks. And it puts us up to 80 scholarship players. Before the end of the spring, we'll fill that out. We'll add at least another 5 scholarship players going into the summer and to next fall. And one of the things that we look for, I saw on track and football, they had this class. I think we had 18 players that were track athletes and quality track athletes. That's something that we really look for in this class. And then versatility, players that play multi-sports, basketball, track, football, baseball. Our quarterbacks are gonna try to win a 2nd state championship in baseball as well as football. We spent a lot of time in gyms watching guys play basketball. Love guys that are athletic and really can play basketball. So really just got to hand it to our staff to really digging into the athletic ability of all these kids and really bringing in versatile kids that can really help us in a number of ways. I do want to say this. It saddens me today. Lucas has been my personnel director. He did an amazing job with this class. He's going to be resigning after this signing period and moving in a different direction with his life, but just want to thank him for his friendship and his great work that he's done with Colorado State and for us in the past. So thank you, Lucas. With that, any questions?
How important was it for you to do the brunt of your recruiting today and still leave some wiggle room for February?
Yeah, so the way that this recruiting process has gone, we've seen a lot of changes, and our whole thing is, you have to adapt to the changes. You either adapt or die. And, with NIL and early signing period, basically what's happened is with this early signing period, it's your first opportunity to sign players. So this is the best opportunity for you to really improve your team. There's more players available. There's more players that we can get in on at this time. The bulk of our class is always going to be high school players that fit our profile. But, you really, what we've done the last few years, we've got a great start in the summer, and we have about 90% of our class done in the early signing period. So right now we have 5 scholarships left, and there's always a little wiggle room with that. Really gives us a chance to identify, 5 players that can really help our class. Would love to get a couple more linemen, offensive linemen. There may be a difference maker at receiver. We're talking to some transfer guys. The transfer guys aren't as locked into this day as the high school kids are. So there's going to be guys that sign this afternoon, tonight, tomorrow. We'll be sitting around with our phones still recruiting. So we're really thankful that this really quality class is going to get improved even more. And, and there's still some kids that are going to get in the portal after these bowl games. And so, there's some very specific rules. January 4th through the 8th, we can bring in transfer players that can still enroll in class by the 17th of January. So we'll be looking to add some of those guys as well.
You've said it all along. You needed to add bodies because you were short on them. But the other part of that is you said it hampered your ability to compete in position rooms.
Yeah.
With this class, did you feel like you took care of that?
Yeah, I think we made a huge step towards that. And you can't have a good program unless you have competition. And we needed to ramp up the competition at every position. You truly can't make players accountable for playing at a high level unless they have the threat of sitting on the bench. I mean, Bobby Knight was right. I mean, the best motivator is the bench. And so until a kid understands that he's got a guy behind him that can take his spot, they really don't really push themselves to be the very best. And so, I just think we're functioning at about 50% this year. We've got to be more competitive at every position, and we've got to be more accountable for our performance at every position. So we're not close to being there. These players will help us tremendously, and I think also we're going to be starting from a much better place of just competitive attitude. Everybody bought into what we're doing and moving forward. And so I'm just really excited. The last 2 weeks I've been all over this country, from Long Beach to Philadelphia to New York to New Jersey to Richmond, Virginia, all over. And I was so excited to walk in these kids' home and sit down with them, and because we have big athletic kids that are long and rangy and play multi-sports, and when you can sit in their houses and talk to their parents, you really get excited about their addition to our program. So just really, it's like Christmas for coaches when we have signing day, because we get to add to our team, and very excited to add these 34 guys.
Yeah, you obviously took this job because of the potential that this program had. Obviously, many of the major recruiting services have you guys as the top recruiting class in the Mountain West. How important is that, and how impressive have you been with you and your staff and able to put this quality of class together in your first real full cycle?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think we have really dynamic coaches that really understand talent. You know, I think one of the most important things as a program is you have to have a philosophy about recruiting. You have to have a philosophy for what you're looking for, and the players that you bring in got to reflect that philosophy. I mean, we like big receivers, you know, and so if I bring in a whole bunch of guys that are 5'7", you guys are looking at me like I'm crazy. I mean, we're looking for big, tall tight ends, big wide receivers, big strong arm quarterbacks, and we got to get bigger up front in our offensive line. I mean, this is a big man's game. This is a game where big people beat up on little people, and you know, we've got to get bigger. But I think one of the things is that we've really learned that because where we're located and because of the Denver airport, you know, we can direct flight anywhere. And so I think it's opened up a lot of doors for us. I mean, we have recruited, you know, we had 3 kids from Chicago. I mean, I haven't recruited Chicago the last 5 years when I was at Nevada. And, but that's a traditionally pretty good place here. You know, when I talked to Sonny Lubick, you know, they always had kids from the Chicagoland area. So, you know, that's an area that we're really going to look seriously into going into regularly. You know, and we got kids from Louisiana. We got kids from Florida. We got, you know, a couple East Coast kids. And so I just think the draw to Fort Collins, it's such a great community. I think the draw to with our facilities, kids are so impressed with when they come here. It just opens a lot of doors for us that we never had before as a staff. And we want to build on that. And so I just am so excited, and I just think that our schedule this year, the exposure that we get, it's just going to open more doors for us in recruiting.
Going along those lines, you do still have 3 players from the state of Colorado, and obviously when you're in Nevada, Colorado maybe wasn't a state you targeted heavily, but now that you're here, how important is it to still bring in local kids from the Denver area and just all over the state?
It's so important. I mean, and these are really dynamic players. I mean, I love Silas Evans. Silas Evans is, you know, we from George Washington High School. We go all over the country looking for a wide receiver like him. I mean, he's long, he's athletic, he's dynamic. You know, Tanner Morley, big giant offensive lineman from Valor, and Javion Smith-Combs is. When you sit down in front of that kid, he looks like an NFL 3 technique. I mean, he's got long arms, big hands. You know, helped win the state championship at Cherry Creek. So these guys are all from championship programs. They have a championship pedigree, and they're in-state players. And we want to build our program, and we're not done yet. You know, we still have a second signing period. You know, and the other thing is you know, there are some quality, you know, guys that are maybe fringe players that'll be PWOs that'll earn scholarships for us. So, you know, we gave several of those kids scholarships this past year. So we're not done yet with the Colorado recruit.
One player I want to ask about specifically, guy that's come on lately, Damian Henderson,
Yeah.
out of Los Alamitos, California. What did you like so much about him, and how excited are you to add him to your backfield?
You know, just amazing. You know, when I was at Oklahoma, you know, Barry Switzer lived about 2 blocks from the stadium, and you know, and he would talk about he would not recruit a back if he didn't have home runs. You know, if he wasn't scoring for 50, 60, 70 yards out, and that's what Damian Henderson does. I mean, he's a home run threat. He had multiple plus 200-yard games. Really could play anywhere on the field. He could play receiver. He could play running back. He could be a great corner. Just has such versatile talents. A very fast kid, but just super dynamic. And we're just really excited about, you know, adding a guy like him to our offense. And, you know, we need to make more explosive plays offensively. We need to put 5 guys on the field that all can score touchdowns. And, you know, that's why I'm so excited about about the tight ends that we got. I'm excited about the core of young receivers that Coach Savage is bringing in, and we'll probably bring in another receiver or two in the portal, and and that's just something that we've been talking to several kids, and I think we'll still be able to attract some kids in the portal.
How do you compare your excitement today to like the first day of fall camp or the first game day?
I think it's so much fun to coach when you have talented guys and you can do things with them. And I think, we know what we can do in our system when we have the right kind of kids. And, it was frustrating. We didn't play the way that we wanted to play this year, especially on offense. I mean, many times we were biting the bullet and allowing our defense to kind of take control of games, and we're not used to playing that way. I mean, so to be able to have receivers that we could push the envelope with, to be able to have running backs that can explode and make huge plays, and to be able to have a big offensive line that can move the line of scrimmage and pass protect, it's exciting. It really is exciting, and I just think we know way more about these kids. I think we were able to really add more. The NCAA rule in football was we could only have 25 guys in a calendar year up till this fall. Now, we're going to be able to sign up to 40, 42, 43 guys and really bring in the type of profile of player that we really aspire to work with. So it's super exciting for me, and I love the type of offensive weapons we were able to add to in this class.
Kevin, do you have a question?
Yeah, I did, Coach.
What's up, Kev?
You talked about making sure not straying from the profile of who you wanted. Considering this class is going to make up close to half of your scholarships, how important was that to make sure that you get it right, considering just the number, and how important the team makeup will be?
Yeah, it's important that I think that's the hardest thing, and as and I tell Lucas this all the time. Lucas is in charge of our personnel, and for myself as a head coach, we're like gatekeepers of the program, and so our team is going to look like the class of kids that we recruit, and so we were very specific. We wanted to get taller, longer in the offensive line. We wanted to get bigger in the offensive line. We wanted to add, we were able to bring in some receivers last year, but now, with this group of receivers, we're really going to fill that room full of kids that look like we want them to look like, and the same thing with the tight end position. The tight end position, there's a lot of good 6'2" tight ends out there. They just aren't what we really like to have in our offense. And so we were able to fill that room up with really three quality, long, tall, athletic kids that can stretch the field and also be pass receivers. And so really important that we scoured the country. And the most important thing of recruiting is you gotta fish where the fish are. And when you fish in a pond where there's a lot of fish, you're going to catch something. And so the most important thing is doing the due diligence and making sure that we have quality list of players that fit our profile. Because if you don't get one guy or somebody gives a kid a bunch of NIL money and we can't recruit him anymore, the next guy we recruit has got to be of the same quality, talent, and profile. And so I think that's where teams miss, is that they just pick players, and and we don't want to have much of a difference between our first guy and then our second guy and our third guy on our list. So, and they have to have similar physical qualities and versatility. So, that was really important. And I just think I think Lucas did a great job with his staff of just keeping us on our guardrails and keeping us in our lane as far as the type of kids that we're looking for. And then the other part of that is character and academics. Once we sign a kid or a kid decides to come, we got to keep them. And so if the kid doesn't have good character, he's not going to be here very long. And so, retention of players is also so important. And that goes into our character evaluation. And that's a lot of questions being asked. It's a lot of people being interviewed. Everybody in the school, from the counselors to the custodian. Custodian can tell you a lot about a kid. You ask a custodian about one of the players, and if the guy thinks he's a jerk, you probably shouldn't recruit him. So, it's just, it's part of what we do. And, and I just got to give credit to our staff. We have a really good staff of recruiters, guys that understand what athletes look like, and they know what we're looking for in our offense and defensive schemes. And the other part of this group of players is, versatility is important. This should be a great group of players that really are outstanding in special teams. And, that's a huge emphasis for us. All our best players play special teams. A lot of these kids are outstanding special teams players, along with really good, defensive and offensive players.
And just the last one from me, with the portal, and it seems like some programs are leaning a little more heavily on portal rather than high school recruiting. How does that alter things for you guys? Does it open up any avenues, or not really?
No, I do think it opens avenues. I think, number one, there's a couple things with that. I think what the portal has done is it's given the Power 5 schools a mulligan. So when they miss on a kid out of high school and he comes to the Group of 5 level or Division II level, they can re-recruit him after they see that he's a good player. If he's an all-conference player or he's a super productive player at a lower level, they can re-recruit him. And that's what's happening. A lot of those kids we had in Nevada all went Power 5. They're going to different schools. And so that's one avenue. The other thing that I think is that we're always going to make our living on high school players. I just think it's the best thing when you're building a program to get kids when they're freshmen and they have the qualities you're looking for and to developing them in our program. But we'll also always investigate the portal. The portal allows us to maybe get in on kids that we recruited out of high school, but they chose a different school, and we'll have a chance to recruit them again. That's happened with some of these kids that are coming up in the portal this second time around. So, it's an interesting dynamic. There's a lot of crazy things going on at the Power 5 level with NIL money and all that. I do think there's becoming a separation between our Group of 5 schools and some of the higher level Power 5 schools, just as far as NIL money. But it's still all about doing your due diligence and identifying players and making sure you're staying true to your profile.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, guys.